Well, we'll forget all about that, won't we? Did not realise I was on the highlight scene there and didn't have my audio. Well, thank you everyone for joining us. And this is the Pitskill.io Porsche 935 and BMW M2 Multiclass. Round 5 of the series here at Bathurst. As we come to the end of our Porsche qualifying 10 minutes. Chris Wright jumped up to P5 now with a 203.0. Who is finishing off a lap at the moment? Furthest along on their lap is Nitro. Who's currently matching their previous best. Doesn't seem to be finding an improvement on this lap, however. We do have Bjorn King and Jeremy Thomas looking for an improvement at the moment. Still have Jesper Swingley yet to set a valid lap. Don't think they're on a valid lap at the moment. Down in P24 and could see themselves starting behind a whole bunch of BMWs if they don't get a time on the board. Jeremy Thomas is in the final sector of the racing circuit. Just one corner left to go. We'll see if Thomas can improve of the P6 he's currently sitting in. As he crosses the line up to P5, jumps ahead of Chris Wright. As we wait for King. We'll come down the chase and into the chicane. King finding plenty of time on this lap. Could see them jumping substantially up the order. Although there is quite the gap between P9 and P10 for them to slot into. And that is exactly where they slot into with a 203.4. And that brings us to the end of the qualifying for our BMWs. And as we wait for the Porsche, wait for the BMWs to come onto their first flying lap, we can take a look at the standings for the BMWs, and it is Jan Latello who is currently sitting on top of the timings, on top of the standings with a point tally of 220, 10 points ahead of Wojtek Swoboda in P2, Elena Bromfield in P3 on 200 points. And running down the rest of the order, we've got Jakub Borovic, Atta Kalaskan, Jules Flint, Luke Tranmer, Anthony Victor Chappelle, Marco Lorenzon, and Christopher Elberg rounds out our top 10. We go on board with our championship leader, Oscar Yaram, as he comes down the long straight towards the foot of the mountain. Now see how much margin is Yaram going to leave to these walls on this first flying lap. Does have some time to build himself into this, though these BMWs, considerably slower than the Porsches, don't get as many laps. As we climb our way through the mountain, very close to the walls, we wind our way through, slightly wide of the apex, coming out into Skyline, very close to the wall on the right, good amount of apex curb, keeping it tight to the walls using all of the track. Yaram finding his confidence. Heavy braking down past the Bentley signs and very close to the walls on the apex. Perhaps a little bit more time to find through that corner. We come down towards the chase. Still don't think we're going to see these cars getting into 6th gear. Oh no, we do. Yeah, I'm opting to take the 6th gear. And as we come to the final corner, get our first time on the board for the BMW TCX class. And it is a 2:18.342 for Oscar Yaram. That is some 1.4 seconds faster than our current P2 driver, Anthony Victor Chappelle. We've got more drivers heading out on to the circuit. We've got Lennon Bromfield now in P3 with Jules Flint. Now shuffled down to P5 as Matchman. Into P3 in the TCX class with a very sideways movement coming through the first corner. We've got a long old trail of cars going up towards the mountain. Drivers not leaving themselves much space for drivers ahead of them to make a mistake. Could prove costly for some. The wall's so tight here at Bathurst. In P21 we've got another of the double yellow motorsport cars. That is Jakub Borovic climbing the hill. And you can see Matchman with time to find, currently halfway through their second flying lap, already found a second, so this is a driver to keep an eye on. Unfortunately, I think they might find themselves catching a little bit of traffic up ahead. So that is Elbow getting well out of the way. Matchman currently 1.3 seconds up on their previous best as they come down now. Nice and smooth as they descend the hill now on the long run down towards the chase. Going to be getting a little bit of a slipstream there, but find themselves getting very close to the cars ahead. Cars who might not quite have so much pace. Oscar Yaram back in the pits. Not sure if there was an incident there for Yaram, causing them to head back into pit road. Should have enough time to get back out there and set another lap if they feel they need to do so. We'll keep an eye on Matchman here. This is looking like a very good lap as another car gets right out of his way. And down into the final corner. He crosses the line. It is close. 2 thousandths of a second in it between Matchman and Chappelle. Still some way off of Oscar Yaram, and Matchman, well, expertly parked. I mean, if this was stunt driving, that would be mighty impressive there for Matchman. But unfortunately, this is racing, and no style points are awarded in this championship, unfortunately. As climbing the hill. Apologies, I think I mentioned earlier. I mentioned that Yaram was our championship leader. No, previous year's champion, also previous season's champion, but not championship leader. That is this man right here, Jan Ilatalo. Newcomer this season and showing his pace already. As we descend the mountain, throwing it through skyline. Absolutely driving on the ragged edge. Still some 1.5 seconds off of the pace of Yaram at the moment. Driver who's seemingly very, very comfortable around this Bathurst circuit. Zilatello powers down towards the chase. Currently 6/10 up on their previous best. This could see them jumping up to P2. Just one more corner to go for Ilatello, and it's looking like a decent lap. Has lost something there in the as we cross the line. It's good enough for P2. Still 9/10, also 7/10 of a second off. What did you know? My math is absolutely incorrect. Over a second off of 1.3 seconds off of Yaram. As we check down, I want to see who else is improving. We've got Chappelle in P3, Matchman P4, Flinton Borovic P5 and 6. Peter Jorgensen only in P24 overall, P7 in the class with Paul Cook and Lola Nitro behind. Lola Nitro is first of the drivers to take the checkered flag in the session. So Boda, one of our title challengers, currently down in P28 for not finding their feet here at Bathurst. Some almost 5 seconds off of the pace. Not we expect from Svoboda. We're seeing some improvements out there. Christopher Elberg finding almost 2 seconds on this lap. Does need to get clear of that traffic ahead. I don't think they're going to be allowed to, as cannot overtake in qualifying. So we'll just have to hang in there and see what this lap brings to them, but should be sizable improvement nonetheless. As Ilatello bouncing it through the final chicane. Should be a decent improvement in time. Don't think it's going to be enough though to see them improve their position. 1.3 seconds required to find. I think they might get the 3, but the 1 is going to be harder to find. That is Ilatello's final run. We'll start them P2 in class for tonight's race, as Jorgensen, final corner to round now. Should find a decent amount of time on this lap. Could see them jump ahead of a Bromfield as they cross the line. Unfortunately not for them, as Borovic up to P22, and that will be the end of our session. Well, stay with us and we'll be back very shortly for tonight's race. Welcome back everyone, as our drivers line up on the grid for tonight's race. We have got championship leader Reese Tattersall starting on pole position. He'll be starting alongside Matthew Parry in P2. In P3 we have got Ben Lopard. with Balazs here starting alongside him in P4. P5 is the 714 of Jeremy Thomas, who will be starting alongside our championship sponsor, Mr. Chris Simquips Wright. In P7 we have got John Sawyer with Fellini's Nitro in that also familiar Linux livery, starting in P8. In P9 is Bjorn King in the 540 with Christopus Skapas in P10. Rhys Burns is in P11 with Attila Nemeth in P12. F. Martin starting this race in P13 with Bartholomew Drijos in P14. Jerome Lemon is in P15, rounding out our Porsches with, and who did get a time on the board just in the dying moments of the session, Jesper Swingley, means they will be starting ahead of our BMW field, which will be led away by Oscar Yaram in P17 overall, leading the BMW TCX class. Jan Litelo in P18, and that is P2 in class. We'll have a good run into the first corner. We'll have that outside line. Will that benefit him on the run into the mountain? In the dying moments of the session, actually getting a very good time was Roshek Svoboda. Not quite sure where that came from. Must have made that up towards the end of the lap. Must have been mistakes in their previous laps, because they found themselves right down the order for most of that session. But now P19, P3 in class for the start of this race. In P20 overall, P4 in class is Anthony Victor Chappelle, the first of our double yellow motorsports cars, and it looks like they are leading a right old train of double yellow motorsport cars, with the next one being James Matchman, the 129 car, which is confusingly liveried. We then have the 116, this isn't going to get confusing at all, of Jakub Borovic, and the number 18 of Jules Flint. In P24, that is P8 in class, is Lennon Bromfield, with Peter Jorgensen just behind. Paul Cook is in P26 with a Lola Nitro in P27. In P28 we have the 210 of Christopher Elberg with Mikhail Arminsky in P29. David Gugic is in P30 with Atta Kalaskan in P31. Brad Clark P32 in this race with Martin Spasov in P33. P34 we've got Ben Beams, and rounding out our order is the 223 car of Victor Poda. And as Rhys Tattersall leads us down towards the chase, just quickly remind ourselves of the standings in our two classes. And it is Rhys Tattersall who leads the way, ahead of Matthew Parry, Balazs Fahir, Ben Lopard, Jeremy Thomas, Sampa Patari, Thomas Perello, Chris Wright, Fellini's Nitro, and John Sawyer. And in our TCX class, it is Jan Ilitalo, Roshek Svoboda, Lennon Bromfield, Jakub Borovic, Atta Kalaskan, Jules Flint, Luke Tranmer, Anthony Vitch Chappelle, Marco Lorenzon, and Christopher Elberg. And as we round chicane on this formation lap, just one corner to go before we will see the green flag waving to get this race underway here at Mount Panorama. It's a good advantage for the driver starting on pole position here. We'll have the inside line into first corner. It's a short run from the green flag to the first corner. So not much of an opportunity to make up a position. But I'm sure Matthew Parry will try and give it a go on the run up towards the mountain. So we await the green flag, and we are racing here at Bathurst. And side by side go Ben Lopard and Matthew Parry. Reece Tattersall with a very good start. That is Felinez Nitro off in the gravels. It looks like, oh, I was about to say both our classes getting through there relatively cleanly. Did see a little bit of bumping in the background as Oscar Yaram has got away very nicely at the start of the TCX classes. So it is Reece Tattersall and Oscar Yaram are two class leaders at this moment, as we have a few changes for position in the middle of our Porsche class. Oh, and that is heavy contact into the wall. That is a few cars pointing the wrong way, and we've also got some battling behind as the BMWs make their way through. Thankfully the crash Porsches keeping well out of the way, but that was a heavy impact into the wall, and that is going to be some substantial damage on that GT2 class car. And we have got Chris Wright, our series sponsor, facing backwards. And what has happened there to Chris Wright as we come through the mountains? This camera angle is awful. Oh, getting out on that exit curve, going sideways and becoming a rolling obstacle there in the middle of the road. Tries to get himself underway again, and wow, as we break away from that replay, Chris Wright is only just getting moving. So that is all the way to the back of the field for Chris Wright. Not the start to this race he will have wanted. As Bjorn King trying to go around the outside of the chase. He's going to have the inside into the chicane, late on the brakes. Ooh, doesn't manage to get it stopped, and is, well, trying a little bit of rally cross there as he cuts across the grass, comes on back behind Thomas, and well, went off the track all of his own making there, so I don't think he can complain too much. As we have a battle for P3 as Ilatalo has been knocked down behind, sorry, it's the battle for P2 as Svoboda's got ahead of Ilatalo, and there's his sight set on Oscar Yaram ahead. Also have a battling behind between some of the double yellow motorsport crew as Borovic, Chappelle, Matchman. And we've got Bromfield for company as they all come through the first corner and head up towards the mountain. Already climbing the mountain are Balazs Fahey and Jeremy Thomas as they get all slidey on the ascent. Jeremy Thomas well on the attack here, climbing all over the back of Balazs Fahey. As behind them, battle here between Skapas and Hef Martins. We got a car sideways rolling across the track. Everyone did very well to avoid that. And that, I believe, was Bjorn King. And we'll see if we can see what happened there for King. It's going to be a bit of a long replay as we try and catch what happened, but was it just a mistake on his own? Doesn't look like there's any cars too close to him. Is it going to be that deadly outside curb? Yes, it is. Bouncing off the wall. First car avoids, but oh, King. And that was what we ended up seeing. Not sure who that was. I think that was the car of Sawyer, who in taking evading action has a big old clash with the wall. And I don't think that's going to be doing his car too much good, as John Sawyer now under attack from Skapas. Skapas getting all out over on the dirt, gets himself all back on the track nice and safely, loses the position to Nemeth, but keeps all the panels on that car. As cutting their way through the field, or through the TCX field now, we have a couple of Porsche 935s, and they're going to need to show a little bit of patience here. The cars ahead of them not going to be on their pace, and this is a very tight and narrow circuit here at Mount Panorama. Chris Wright up into P19. Definitely didn't pick up any damage from that spin earlier, only to his pride and dignity. Is now able to recover and should be clear of the BMWs very shortly. Svoboda and Ilatalo remain unmolested as the Porsches make their way through. As up at the front of the Porsche battle, Matthew Parry keeping it tight with Rhys Tattersall. The battle for the lead as we come down towards the chase. That long straight that ends the mountain section. These two 3 seconds clear of Ben Lopard in P3. It is only these two in this battle, and I think there has been a big old incident as we have Nemeth dropping back. What has happened here for Nemeth? Oh, into the back of John Sawyer, who I think was trying to avoid the BMW, and that is Nemeth around. That is a big old incident, and now Jesper Swingley putting the pressure on. Rhys Tattersall finding his feet again. Gap opened up to 0.6 seconds. As we come back onto the mountain. There's the battle for the lead of our race. We have John Sawyer into the pits. No surprise there after the damage we saw sustained by his car. As the TCX field is beginning to spread out a little bit. We have got Oscar Yaram still leading the way, 1.3 seconds ahead of Svoboda, who is in turn another second ahead of Latalo. As Rhys Tattersall, I think must have been a little bit of an incident earlier on in this race, or a little bit of a mistake, as Rhys Tattersall is gradually now pulling away again from Matthew Parry. That gap now up to a second. As we have Hef Martin and Skapas battling it out for P7 in this race, as they snake their way through the downhill section. Nothing it tight between the walls. You hear the screeching of tyres as they descend their way down. These 935 cars are not the most sophisticated in terms of downforce. They are slippery, great top speed, but not got all that much grip. So really is down to the driver to keep these things under control. And as we've seen in races earlier in the season, they can be a little bit of a beast to their tyres as well. As Skapas jumps themselves up to P7. Very nice move there on Martin, and can get their eyes forward towards Burns, who is just half a second up the road. Some 10 seconds off of Jeremy Thomas. And behind them, we've got the trio of Attila Nemeth, Lemon and Swingley all together on a circuit. Those three battling out over P11. Skapas now all over the back of Burns. Not much room to make a move through this part of the circuit, but Skapas can certainly line themselves up, look for an opportunity. Don't think they're going to be able to muscle their way around the outside, and dicing with the walls, dicing with death as they come through this part of the circuit. Very much not a piece of the track you want to be going side by side, as Hef Martin and Felina's Nitro bringing themselves up to get involved in this action. Skapas looking like they've got a real handful of that cars. That is burns heavily into the wall. Heavy contact there. Hef Martin, Felinez Nitro and Bjorn King are going to make their way through. And I don't think Burns is going to be holding on to much as that car severely damaged. And I suspect it's going to be an early pit stop for the number 191 car. That was a big old hit. As we've got a few battles brewing in TCX class. This is the battle over P2. Ilatalo and Svoboda juking out as they climb their way up the mountain. Just 2 seconds off of our race leader, who you might just be able to see in camera shot. As they come down towards Skyline. And another 4 seconds further behind, battle between Borovic and Chappelle. This over P5 in the race. As expected, Burns into the pits. Parry also into the pits. I hope that is for a... Oh, well, I do have a replay here for Matthew Parry. So was there some sort of incident? Oh, no, looks like just a little bit of a nudge on the way into the pit lane. So Matthew Parry in hoping to make a quick pit entry. Oh, has picked up a drive-through penalty for his troubles. And, well, that is not going to do his race any good at all. We check back in with the battle between Hef Martin, Felinez Nitro and Bjorn King. They make their way down the mountain and are now encountering some of Battmarker TCX traffic. This is the part of the race that gets tricky for those in the faster class cars, as making it 3 wide down the chase. This is going to be scary moments for these BMWs, as that is a loose moment for Spasov, who is well, I think going to have to recover from a minor cardiac arrest there, as they lose the rear of the end of the car with 3 very fast 935s blasting their way through. As Martin, Nitro and King continue on their way, we have another penalty for speeding in the pit lane, this time for Reese Burns. As Felinez Nitro looking to find a way past F. Martin. Skapas has abandoned this battle, now into the pit lane. As this trio make their way towards the mountain, we see Attila Nemeth going very sideways out of the first corner, all over that exit curb. I wonder how many penalties we are going to see for these 935 cars heading into the pits. It's a tricky pit lane here, and I'm not sure how many drivers will have practiced the pit entry in these cars, which do not have the world's greatest brakes. And as they now find themselves approaching the back of the battle, well, one of the cars that's in the battle for the net P2 in the TCX class, that is Ilatalo, as they wind their way down the mountain. Ilatalo has made their mandatory pit stop. Yes, they have. They are currently the leader car of all of the TCXs who have made their pit stop, as Martin, Nitro and now King will make their way by. And that is a heavily damaged BMW off on the side of the track, as Nitro going side by side with Martin as they come down through the chase. And they have another BMW in their way. Just to make this complicated, as Beyond King getting very sideways through the corner. Any of these drivers are going to peel off into the pit lane. Looks like both Martin and King diving into the pits to serve their mandatory pit stop in this race, and does promote Nitro out into the lead of this race. As climbing the hill, we have got Matchman, who suspect had some sort of incident earlier in the race. Find themselves down in, or it has a couple of incidents actually by the looks of things. Find themselves down in P19 overall. And not made their pit stop. Let's see if we can find out what happened to them earlier on. As making their way. Oh, and I think I can see what's about to happen here. Okay, there's a little bit of a door bang. Doesn't look too bad. Was there perhaps another incident a bit earlier on between these two? Oh, there's a little bit of an incident. Still doesn't explain why they find themselves all the way down here. Alas, this is where James Matchman finds himself. Down last of the BMWs which have yet to pit. As Rhys Tattersall, having made his pit stop, is behind Balazs Feher. So what has happened to Tattersall? Nothing on our sheets for the 101 car, so I can only imagine some sort of mistake or getting caught up in traffic. And was it just a masterful pit strategy from Feher to get themselves into the net lead of this race? This battle really coming alive as Ben Lopard also within a second here. It's the battle for the lead in the overall in the 935 class. Well, I'll keep this one with this one for quite a while. Now it's looking like Rhys Tattersall taking 39 seconds in the stop. Can you imagine that is for tyres and maybe a little bit of damage too? Balazs Feher only 27 seconds stopped in his box. That means no tyres for Balazs Feher. Will be suffering for grip towards the end of this race, no doubt. These 935s not easy on their tyres by any stretch of the imagination. And Balazs Feher just needs to hope that you can use the tricky layout of this Bathurst circuit to keep the charging Rhys Tattersall behind him. It is a brave driver that tries to make a move around this circuit. As Rhys Tattersall has to tuck back in behind Balazs Feher as they have the back marker traffic there just in the way enough to cause a distraction. As Balazs Feher getting on the blinkers, would quite like the car ahead of him to move out of the way as they climb the mountain. Back marker really not paying attention to those blue flags. They charged their way through. Ilatalo, who currently lead of the drivers in the TCX class, who have made the pit stops, and that was contact onto that inside wall. If we take a look for Rhys Tattersall, I'm sure. Well, sorry, these camera angles are god awful, but I can show you. I think that was heavy contact into the wall there for Rhys Tattersall. So not sure if there's damage to the car. As finally they both make their way past back marking. I think that is Rhys Burns' car. As Rhys Tattersall now looking for a way pass on the way down into the chase. Will Balazs Feher risk it on the inside? No, he does not want to do so. And that is Rhys Tattersall up into the lead of this race. Balazs Feher did well to hang on to it for as long as he did. That is race lead now regained for Reece Tattersall. As our field is spreading out somewhat, we have just a few battles left on our track as Lolo Nitro, just 1/10 of a second back on Paul Cook as they wind their way down through the skyline. And it's looking like an understeery BMW there at the hands of Lolo Nitro. And well, looking at the state of the front of it, I think we can see why. As Ben Lopard, a driver who I think has also taken tyres, as well as our race leader, now bearing down on the back of Balazs Fahir. This to battle for P2 in the 935 class and in the overall race. And we saw Reece Tattersall make his way by it with the fresh rubber. How is this looking for Ben Lopard? We've also seen, I think, a few mistakes out of Tattersall during the course of this race, so still not over with 10 minutes remaining by any stretch of the imagination. And of course, backmarker traffic can very much play a part. Ben Lopard looking to the inside, getting in the mirrors of Fahir. Not going to be distracted at this moment, but Lopard really looking for a way to put Balazs Fahir offline. Reece Tattersall now made a gap of 2.1 seconds as they come across the line, with Balazs Fahir struggling on those tyres. I think it's only a matter of time before Ben Lopard tries to take position from him. But very few places on this circuit where a move would be possible. Of course, always a chance for an overtake if the driver ahead of you makes a mistake. So they climb their way up the mountain. Check back in with Lolo Nitro, who is still tucked up behind Paul Cook and has got a 935 for company. As we will check back in though with our battle over P2 in the overall race, as Ben Lopard is as close as he's been as they pick their way through the TCX traffic, leaving no margin for error as they cut their way down between the walls here. And those walls, they've got no Tech Pro barriers here, no tyre barriers. This is just concrete all the way around. And it is a very fast way to break your car, is hitting one of those barriers. And there's Jesper Swingley catching on to the back of Attila Nemeth. This battle over P10 in this race, as Swingley, not Swingley by name, Swingley by nature, as the rear of that car sliding all over the place. Attila Nemeth cutting the skyline and just about getting it slowed down enough to avoid going into the concrete barrier at the other end. I suspect that is going to be a one of his 3 track cut allowances there for Nemeth, but perhaps it'll be used in a wise manner, as he does manage to jump clear of the TCX that held Swingley up so much. And I think we just missed it there, but Lopard has made his way past Balazs Fahir, so we'll go back and take a look at this. A while in the making, side by side, Ben Lopard and Balazs Fahir. Is that an incredibly damaged looking front wheel, or is that just a lot of camber on that front left? Maybe it was a weird angle, camera angle, but that looked like a very broken front left for Balazs Fahir. Let's have a look inside as he winds his way through. Still looks like the wheel is pointing in the right direction. You can see how scary this racetrack is. I think we'll check off some more on boards for Balazs later on in the race as his tyres start to go away from him. This is some scary looking stuff as he follows Ben Lopard down the mountain. Checking back in with our TCX class, and Oscar Yaram still leading the way, P17 overall, and is 4 seconds clear of the P2 driver in the TCX class. That is the Boda, and Ilatalo is in P3. Has something happened to Yaram? Because the Boda is catching quite quickly. He gained almost a second over the last sector. I think just Yaram having to move out of the way of the faster class has cost him a little bit of time, but that will be the same for everyone on circuit at some point in this race. Matthew Parry now, having served their drive-through penalty, finds themselves on the back of Skapas, and this should be a fairly straightforward move as there's some bumping on the straight. Skapas moving there slightly on the straight, it did look like, as now Skapas back ahead as they come running down towards the base of the mountain. Matthew Parry, I think, a little bit frustrated after picking up that drive-through penalty and wanted to make some rapid progress. Rhys Tattersall now that gap out in front, 7.2 seconds, showing some strong pace in this race. Can't see too much visible damage on that car after he clattered into the wall, so Rhys Tattersall still looking strong here. Oh, there's a commentator's curse if ever I saw one. Apologies, Rhys. Matthew Parry has made his way past Skapas and up into P5. Let's go check back in with Rhys Tattersall. Oh, he's not in the mountain anymore. See if we can bring this race alive a bit more. We'll wait till he's in the mountain again and see if we can, you know, put him under some pressure again. Oh, Skapas has made his way back past Matthew Parry. So what has happened here is they come down the mountain. Did Matthew Parry get caught out by the TCX traffic? No, I think just letting him back the goodbye there. So I wonder if there was a touch of contact there from Parry, which caused the initial overtake. As we've got some action in TCX land, Jules Flint, Lennon Bromfield and Jorgensen. Just a battle for P6 in class. Bromfield taking that title line, able to carry a little bit more speed, is all over the back of Flint through this section of the track. As we come into the final minute and a half of this race, Rhys Tattersall is back in the mountain. And at the moment has that gap at 4.7 seconds over Ben Lopard. That is a drop of 2.5 seconds over the past lap. And well, we did see why. As this time Rhys Tattersall making his way through considerably cleaner than before. Just needs to keep his head to... Oh, that sounded like a big old screech. What happened? And, well, we didn't see any incident there, but there's definitely a car struggling on its way down through the final corner onto this run out of the mountain. So will be just enough time for Rhys Tattersall to complete this lap, I believe, and then we'll be on to the final lap of the race as Rhys Tattersall makes his way through Oh, that might have been what we heard earlier. That is one incredibly broken TCX car. And we will round the final corner and go on to the final lap of the race with Reece Tattersall. As Lennon Bromfield side by side, well, almost side by side with Jules Flint, trying to get back into the slipstream as they head on to the mountain for the final time of asking. And Bromfield would love to find a way past his championship. He's holding on near the front, but needs to get as many points as he can if he wants a chance to close in on Ilatalo and Yaram up ahead. We also have Matthew Parry trying to make his way past Skapas up the inside. Should be able to box Skapas in behind the TCX. Good strategic driving there from Matthew Parry. Finds himself moving up into P5 in the race. Good recovery from Parry, who did have to serve that drive-through penalty for speeding in the pit lane, but a wide moment going up the mountain almost opened the door for Skapas again. Reece Tattersall has got that gap back up to 6 seconds. And as we come down through the final corners in the mountain for the last time, go on board with Reece Tattersall as he powers his way out of the mountain and onto the long run down towards the chase. We'll pass one of the Double Yellow Motorsport TCX cars. And down towards the chicane as the camera struggles to find the car of Reece Tattersall. Just one corner remaining and he will take the checkered flag for another well fought win in this championship. It is 5 for 5 for Reece Tattersall as he crosses the line to take the win. P2 will go to Ben Lopard with Balazs Fahir taking P3. P4 will go to Jeremy Thomas. P5 looking like it's going to go the way to Matthew Parry, who did eventually make his way past Skapas. Fernandez Nitro. Battling with Hef Martin all the way to the final corner. Side by side they go. This is going to be close to the line. And it is Nitro who just about makes it to the line ahead. So that is 0.06 of a second. Bjorn King takes P9 and Attila Nemeth P10. As our camera tries to find Oscar Yaram, who is running P1 in the TCX class, some 10 seconds clear of Zaboda in P2. Still a battle going on between Zaboda and Ilatolo, which we will check in with very shortly as we wait for Yaram to complete this final lap, off-roading as he does. I hope he's not listening to the commentary as he's racing and getting distracted. Getting all flustered because he finds himself on TV as he comes across the line to take the win here at Bathurst. As Svoboda holding on ahead of Ilatalo. This will take P2. Good race for him in the championship. Ilatalo taking P3. With Jakub Borovic taking P4. Followed by Anthony Victor Chappelle, who will take P5 in this race. And P6 goes to Peter Jorgensen. And the final runner on the lead lap of the TCXs will be Jules Flint. Well, thank you very much for watching, everyone. Been another very exciting race. And please do tune in again next week when we will be going to Silverstone. I say one of my favourite tracks of the season. And do check out the pitskill.io Twitch and YouTube channels where you can watch all of our other races, including the flagship series, the GT3 Elite. And do make sure you're signed up at pitskill.io using the referral code in the description below, where you can get yourself signed up to get on the grid for any of these races. And we'd love to see you on the grid for the 935 and BMW M2 Multiclass. And what remains me to say is thank you very much for watching, and I will leave you with the highlights from tonight's race. Good night.